I was a 2015 graduate of the then Philadelphia University. And similar to Didi, I was also an athlete. I played for the women's basketball program at Philly U, and that was one of my main decisions to go to Philly U. Upon arrival, I decided that I wanted to major in law and society because I've always wanted to be a lawyer. So I that was my major. I minored in psychology, but I absolutely loved it. From day one, I kind of knew what I wanted to do, and Professor Lane was just awesome on helping me reach those goals. So, um, what was unique about the Law and Society program is that we actually had a lot of resources to programs that I used in law school. So when I got to law school, I kind of had a leg up on a lot of the other students because I knew how to do legal research and I knew how to write legally, because of the resources that Professor Lane provided us. And I also was able to secure an internship before even going to law school. Also through sorry, my dog is like trying to have an appearance, but I'm gonna try to keep him away from the screen. So there were just a lot of um, opportunities that the Law and Society program afforded me while at Philly U, that kind of prepared me for my journey in law school as well as the legal profession. So um, for me, it was just a great program. And if there are any students on that are thinking about coming to Jefferson, I highly recommend Jefferson and the Law and Society program. And happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
I'd like to introduce now Mona Jacobs.
Hi everyone, my name is Mona Manglona Jacobs. I am originally from a U.S. territory, the Northern Mariana Islands. I was born and raised there. I moved to the United States in 2014 when I attended Philadelphia University at the time. I actually went into the university as a trauma psych major, trauma psychology. But I come from a family of lawyers and politicians. My grandfather was actually mayor for like 20 years. So I decided to kind of follow that family path and switch majors my sophomore year, where I met Lane, got into law and society. Through that, in 2016, I was actually a delegate to represent the Mariana Islands in the 2016 Democratic National Convention. I've interned with the Asian American Chamber of Commerce, and also in the youth programs through the Salvation Army in Philadelphia. I think it was in 2017 when I took a class called Marriage and Family Psychology, because I have a psychology minor, where I kind of decided that I didn't want to go to law school, but still find something in the middle that combined helping families, vulnerable populations, but at the same time still impacting policy. So after graduating Thomas Jefferson, I am currently working on my Master's of Social Work. So really marrying the two, helping vulnerable populations, but at the same time implementing policy, impacting law that impacts our families. And I guess currently I am based out of El Paso, Texas, where I'm the Chief Programs Officer at the Community Action Agency, which is a social services agency here. So if you have any questions that are kind of more in the social sector, I'd be more than happy to answer. And I guess I'll pass it over to Nicole.
Hello, hi everyone. My name is Nicole Scott. Who did I attend? It was Philadelphia University when I attended. I graduated back in 2012. And I was, I think, either the first or the second graduating class of the Law and Society program. When I first looked into the school, I was looking to go into the physician's assistant program, but I always wanted to do law. And kind of my family kind of was trying to push me into the medical field. And when I kind of stood my ground and was like, hey, this is what I want to do, I looked into Philadelphia University again and saw that they were starting a law and society program. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. And so it was definitely a pleasure to be able to be on the ground with the program and seeing how Lane developed the program like from day one. And I do practice law now. I am a practicing attorney in Chicago. I own my own law firm, and we do family law, so divorce, custody, visitation, child support, orders of protection, all things family law. So if anybody has any questions regarding like the practice of law or like, going into the legal field, I am the first college graduate in my family. And so if you are a first generation college graduate, I can also answer any questions about how the process is. It's definitely different when you're a first graduating student because you're the first person like going through the process. And so you're trying to figure out a lot of things on your own. And so I can definitely relate to that as well. So if you have any questions about the practice of law, college in general, or, trying to figure out what route you want to go even after college, I can definitely be of assistance with that.
And may I point out that the background is the logo for the Scott Law Firm, am I right? Is that the logo?
It is the logo, and that's just because it's just always there. My house is a mess most of the time, so it's just easy.
And she has the cutest daughter you've ever seen, only surpassed by my granddaughter. Okay, but my granddaughter's older, so there you go. So that we take care of that. I do want to mention before we open it up for questions, we do have a mentoring program that we're starting. So who of the board would like to talk about that?
Naj, you want to take it or you want me to?
I'll punt it to you.
Well, I guess Professor Lane, correct me if I'm starting off wrong, but the university, Jefferson's, officially sanctioned the Law and Society Alumni Board, in which we are all, on the I guess the original and first official board, but we are, working with all of the alumni. And letting them know about the Alumni Association, and we're eventually going to try to pair current students with young alumni. The idea would be to try to pair them with alumni that are working in the fields that they're interested in. So if you have folks that are interested in going through the law school process, then Nicole and Naj would be the folks that we'd want you to talk to. If you're interested in social service, nonprofit, and that space, Mona or Caroline, who's not able to join us, are folks we want to talk to. If we have a number of lawyers and a number of law enforcement folks, some teachers. So we cover a wide range of different professional fields. Me and the federal government political space. So the idea is if you have a very specific interest, we will have someone that we can match you with. And if we, happen to not have an alumni in that space, but, I think our networks connected with the professors, we could probably find you someone that is in that space. So the idea and something I wanted to mention was, part of the reason I went to the school, knowing that I would be very busy with sports, was that it's a small school. Right. So you get a lot of one-on-one attention with your professors, and we want to kind of recreate that with your search for the right professional field for you by being able to pair you with someone that is doing exactly what you think you want to do. That get that right, Naj?
Yes.
And I wanted to point out Caroline was not able to make it tonight. But Caroline Allen is one of the more preeminent fundraisers for politics in Philadelphia and is heavily connected in that. And Terrell is actually working with, Terrell's an undergraduate, but is working with Caroline. And you want to say a little about Caroline since she's not here. Go ahead.
Oh, I absolutely love Caroline. She's so helpful. She's informative. She responds really quickly, and she's funny. And I thought she was coming today, so I'm a little bit sad.
I'm sure you'll see her very soon, so there'll be no problem there. So I think at this point, it's a good opportunity to ask questions. And remember, there's all types of fields. The people who are here on the board tonight are not the only people in the Alumni Association. We've got a lot of lawyers and a lot of other people who are not on the board, but who are on committees or just involved in various different things. We just didn't want a whole avalanche of people. So we're just the board here tonight. So I'm opening it. Who would like to ask any questions regarding law school, about crime and justice, or politics? Terrell, go right ahead.
What's the gentleman's name that was on a track team? I think is it Dieter? How do you say your name?
Didier. Didier.
Didier. Oh, Mr.
Yes.
Didier, I have a question. So what did like your internship consist of? Like the political internship?
Yeah, well, I did a few. So I started in undergrad interning. This is more of like a law enforcement / political, because it was an elected official, but with the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office, and that was actually an internship through the school, through like our career fair, and I think Professor Lane brought them over, and there were a number of students that interned there. So that was the first elected official I worked for, interned for. That one was a lot of, I guess you would say, constituent services. It was, it was the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Philadelphia office. So they dealt with a lot of the intake of inquiries from, people in Philadelphia, and different like scams and, problems that folks were having that they needed the Attorney General to weigh in on. Then my next, I guess, political type of internship was on Capitol Hill, in the official office of Congresswoman Kathy Castor from Tampa, Florida. That was a lot of, administrative work on one hand. There's just like answering the calls, writing to constituents that are calling, and then on the other hand, assisting the legislative team. So going to briefings and writing, memos for them to help navigate through different issue areas. Like the teams there are generally small. So, any little issue from, animal rights to, like postal issues to, bigger issues like we're seeing like criminal justice reform. A lot of folks want to meet with them and they can't take all those meetings. So sometimes they rely on folks like the interns to do some of those and summarize, the different events. But it was great. I did it in DC, got to meet a lot of folks, whether they were elected officials or just, operatives that have been there for years. So it was a great networking experience as well as good professional experience.
Thank you.
I have a question from one of the potential students, I believe Scott, talking about the Drexel 3+3. So this is for, obviously not for the undergrads, but for potential undergrads. Law school and college is a 7-year experience. With the 3+3, we take 1 year away. Essentially, your freshman year at Klein School of Law, which is Drexel, is your senior year at Jefferson. Once you graduate successfully, that first year in law school, you get your degree from Jefferson. The good part about that is you skip a year of cost. That's essentially it. If you have to make a minimum LSAT score, which is not a crazy number, but not a low number. If you get that score, you're automatically in. You take the LSAT in the end of your sophomore year as opposed to the end of your junior year. That's one of the big differences. If you get a monster score, and we've had some people who have, you can say, well, you know what, Klein's good, but I may try for a better school like George Mason. And with that, you can just stay your senior year at Jefferson. So it's not you're not forced to go to Klein. But Scott, if you have some further questions, my email is the best way of getting a hold of me, and we can do a Zoom. It's Evan, EVAN, .Lane, LAINE, at jefferson.edu. Send me an email, anyone who wants to talk about that, and I can get into it in detail. So anyway, let me throw it out for more questions. Who else?
If I may add, Lane, it's never too late to start thinking about law school. And if anyone has any questions about the 3+3 program, I went to the Klein School of Law, so I'm happy to answer any questions about that. And I would highly recommend it. Great law school, fairly new, which I think is always great because you can bring your own ideas to the table and help kind of shape the culture of the law school. So if anyone has any questions about Klein, I'll put my email in the chat and you can email me any questions you may have.
Oh, a question from Dylan to our law school people about the LSATs. So let's start with Nicole. Nicole, LSATs.
I remember taking it for the first time and just being very disappointed in my score. I cried in my roommate's dorm and was like, oh, I'm never going to like go to law school ever. But then I took it a second time. And can anybody hear me? Everybody looks frozen.
So go.
Yes.
Okay. And so then I took it the second time and I did a lot better. I would say obviously LSAT scores are important, but like they're not the end of the world, right? And so I would say study for it just like you would study for the bar, like take your time and like take it seriously and like devote your energy to it. But know that it's not the end of the world, right? And so always keep that at the forefront of your mind when approaching the test.
And I want to say to the undergrads and to potential undergrads as well, it's not, the law school you get into is not as important as how hard you work once you get into that law school.
Right.
If you get into a good law school, like Nicole did and like Naja, if you excel in that law school, make your internships, make your connections, the day you step out of that law school and take your first job, whatever law school you went to is meaningless. It really doesn't matter anymore, because what matters is the connections you make and how hard you work. So it's getting that degree and making those connections and being top of your class. One of our students just graduated Widener, a good law school, not the best, but she did great in it. So now she's working her dream job. She wanted to work for the Attorney General in New Jersey. That was her dream job. She got it because of the connections that she made and how hard she worked in law school. So don't get into that whole thing. Yeah, and you can get into Harvard, and if you don't work hard, you're going nowhere. So it's really, don't be obsessed. Just remember, get into law school and work your butt off when you're there and make your connections. You'll be successful. And Nicole is
I will also add to that quickly that, you know, even if you don't get into the top law school, right? Like everybody's like, oh, I need to go to the top law school, blah, blah, blah. If you get into a law school, right, you can work your way and then be able to transfer. Like it's all about working the system, right? And so I know when I got into law school, I didn't go to the best law school, but I worked my way. I did very well in my first and second semesters. And then I was able to apply to other schools and I got into some of the top schools. But what I did was I said, okay, what's more important? Me going to a top school and then having all this debt on top of the debt that I already am about to have, or being able to use this to negotiate getting more money from the law school that I'm at. And so that's what I did. And I stayed at my law school and I still did the things that I needed to do. So I would say, definitely think about what your plan is. I know it's hard, but definitely think about what your overall goals are. And the best way to do that is by starting now when you're in college and you're able to intern and fill out different things. I was able to do, you know, internships at government offices, internships with law firms, just so that I can get a feel of what I would want it to do. So I would say, going back to the question regarding the LSAT, it's important, but it's just don't put all that your eggs in that basket.
There are two questions. I can answer one quickly and then I'll throw it over to the board for the other one. The question first is LNS, Law Society, affiliated with the All Inspector Center? Yes, I'm the director of the All Inspector Center. We are very connected. The building which the All Inspector Center is in is our building. We have a beautiful living room with a fireplace, we have a full kitchen and the cleanest bathrooms on campus, and you better keep it that way, all right? It's our own building. We have a beautiful deck. It's really nice to have a major and have its own building. More important than the building is the events. We do roundtables when things are healthy almost every week, which is student-led, where we talk, argue about the most important things going on in the world. There are major events. We're doing the future of Roe versus Wade. Katie Viola, who's an undergrad, is going to be introducing that event. It's going to go on her resume. She's very involved in it. We've done major things. And Didi Barjan If you want to see him in a video, was very involved in the JFK exhibit, which was a nationally recognized exhibit that we put on regarding the assassination of Kennedy during the 50th anniversary. And Dee served as one of the tour guides and was very involved in the presentation of that. So Law and Society is me, All Inspector Center is me, so therefore it's the same as far as I'm concerned. Let me throw, the next question is internships. How do I get internships? How important are they? Who wants to take that on the board?
I feel like you're the best person to answer this because you actually look at resumes and hire people. So
yeah, I think, well, to start where Lane kind of left off, because of the program and the way it's set up, just the university as a whole being, keeping a certain number of students to professor ratio, you have great relationship with your professors. A lot of opportunities just come from, going to class. And that's kind of how a couple of my internships came about. I interned with the United Nations Association, the Philadelphia chapter, and that was through one of our professors. I'd mentioned the Attorney General one. And then I mentioned how I got to Capitol Hill. That video that Professor Lane was talking about, I met the university's director of government relations, who helped me with my intern applications for Capitol Hill through that project that Professor Lane and other students worked on. So very early on, I think it was my sophomore year, first semester, I was able to, just through the program, lock in internships. And then once you get one thing on your resume, you're, especially in your sophomore, junior year, you become more attractive to other intern opportunities because they know how to operate in an office and just do administrative things and whatever they need. And it kind of just snowballed for there. So by the time I think I graduated, I think I had done like 5 or 6 internships. Some of them I got class credit for. So I was able to, take out an elective and just go to my internship, and that way I'm getting class credit, but also getting, stuff to put on my resume and real experience. And I think that's what helped me stick out when I was applying to, my first couple of jobs. So I think networking is a big thing, talking to your professors, and volunteer for these different projects and roundtables and the different I don't know, Professor Lane, do you still do like the podcast and like those types of things? Those things that can help fill out your resume very early on, make you more attractive to any hiring manager. So I guess that's, I don't know if Mona or anyone else has anything to add to that.
I was just going to add, so one of the internships I secured was with the Asian American Chamber of Commerce in Philadelphia. And obviously everyone's applying to internships. We're not the only school in Philadelphia. So I actually got like a bunch of phone numbers to different agencies that on their website, they weren't looking for interns. There was nowhere, information on internships, and I called them. And I'm like, hi, my name is Mona. I go to Jefferson University. I want to intern for you. And one of those phone calls is the Asian Chamber of Commerce. And they're like, can you come in this weekend? And I was like, okay. So I go in, and before you know it, they have me working one of their big events, which is a Pacific Islander event where they talk about healthcare and they do services that look about all the different, I guess, areas in which Asian and Pacific Islander people are discriminated upon in terms of healthcare practices. So, I mean, at the same, like, pick up the phone and call people, put a voice to your name, put a face to your name. And it's really about initiative sometimes. The way I secured my internship with the delegation, which gave me the opportunity of going to the Democratic National Convention, was just calling people, being active on social media. I'm a big advocate for the voices of our youth, especially for minority population. So I would reach out to students back from my high school, advocate for them. I would volunteer my time essentially, and it got noticed. So kind of around the time of the 2016 election, I was calling people and letting them know, hey, this is what I'm doing. I want a seat at the table, and I was given a position to be at the DNC. So a lot of times, the great thing about Jefferson is, like DDA mentioned, is that the opportunity comes to you, but at the same time, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call people and be aggressive, because once you're in the real world, a lot of it is about that. It's about being confident in what you're doing. You might not have any job experience. I never worked a day in my life in high school. I was very fortunate to do so. So I didn't have a resume, so to speak. But by putting out what I was doing, whether it's through school assignments, projects, volunteering with Lane, I know I did some research at school. And making those phone calls, you know, you build those connections. And so really, I just push taking initiative.
I think just one quick thing, Dee Dee asked about podcasts. I have to tell you, we have an amazing new podcast. It's called Queer and Friends by two of our students. I listened to it today. It was awesome. Search it out if you want to hear two people talking honestly about challenges in their life and so forth. It was moving, incredible, and it already has 100 views, and I just put it out yesterday. And I can tell you the roundtables, which feature most of our students, have already reached over 17,000 views. So people are listening to what our students have to say. I'm very, very pleased about that. And just what Mona demonstrated is really something that we teach in Law and Society, is we look at life as like a maze. You know, most people, they hit a wall, they stay there and they give up. What we learn to do is, okay, that didn't work, let's go left. If that didn't work, let's go right, and just keep on going until you get what you want to do. And I'm looking at Jared right now. Jared's doing, Jared Floyoshak is doing our capstone right now. And he has a great idea regarding respecting firemen who've given their lives in service. And he has pivoted 100 different ways in his capstone, and he keeps on turning left and right instead of giving up. And I think that's something that Mona just showed. Hey, you got to go out there, you got to get it. If one phone call doesn't work, so what? You make another phone call. That didn't, you make another phone call. Before you know it, you have a career. And that's the way it works. Some other questions. Who has any other questions here who'd like to ask?
I've got a quick question.
Go ahead, Will.
So this is a more general question. Since I'm an upcoming freshman, I have yet to face any internships or anything post-college. So I was just going to ask the board, what is your advice and I guess experience with taking advantage of the amazing opportunities at Jefferson? You know, obviously we're all coming in first time, and I think I'd like to relate to Miss Scott. My mom was the first one to go to college, so this is incredibly new for me as well as everyone else. So I mean, where should we even start? Because I know that Jefferson provides just amazing opportunities.
I can start. First off, I love your name. So I would
Thank you.
say, number one, just have an open mind. I think that's probably the broadest advice I can give to you, because there's so many opportunities. Have an open mind, be willing to try different things. I kind of took that approach with law school, but I think it applies to undergrad as well. So try things, because you're going to learn what you like and what you don't like, right? And it's just important to learn what you don't like as it is to what you do like, because if you know you don't like it, you can kind of stay away from it and not waste too much time. So just have an open mind. Try different internships. That's the great thing about it. Like, you have an opportunity now while you're an undergrad to kind of try out different things, so that once you get to law school, once things are starting to be solidified, you kind of have like an idea. So try internships with the government, try internships with law firms. Try, you know, I know Brianna's not here, but she can probably give you some information. Maybe there's some internship with the Secret Service. I don't really know, but try as many different things as you can, so you can get a feel of what you like and kind of what you don't like. So that would kind of be my big piece of advice. And also, to echo what Mona said, when I was at Philly U, I interned for the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office, and also for one of the largest personal injury firms in the country, Saltz Mangaluzzi. Both of those internships, I got kind of talking to Professor Lane and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, but also because what he teaches his students is kind of, we are the future leaders, go out and get what we want. So I was working at a golf course on Ridge, and I found out that the partner who owned that law firm was a member, and I kind of went up to him and just was like, hey, I need an internship. I want to go to law school. And he, surprisingly, he looked at me like I was crazy, but he gave me his card. I called his office, and the next thing you know, I was working there the next week. And it was good because I had already known how to research legal issues, because Lane, got us access to LexisNexis, which I don't know if you guys use that now, but that's only what law students use. Like, undergrad students don't get access to those things, but we have access to it. So take advantage of that. Learn as much as you can, because I guarantee you, you'll be ahead of the game once it's time to start applying to law schools, or even just figuring out, maybe you don't want to go to law school, other jobs, but just have an open mind and literally try to, dip and dabble in a little bit of everything.
I just want to go ahead, Didi, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna add to that and say that's exactly how I found out that I did not want to go to law school, right? I did this internship at the Attorney General's office, then I interned for a judge, and then I did a brief internship at a law firm, and I came to the conclusion that I did not want to do this. And I did that. My resume at the time, that was 3 different internships, so my resume looked great, but I was able to also kind of start pivoting into something else that I enjoyed doing a little bit more. So like I think I 100% agree with what Naj says. It definitely applies in undergrad as well.
Just my add regarding internships, Brianna is excelling so greatly at Secret Service that they want more Jefferson students. So they are actually coming down in April. We're setting a date soon to advertise for internships with the Secret Service, which is a real diamond. I mean, that's a great internship. And we have to thank Brianna Reese for doing that. I'm so proud of her that's getting done. And I just want to say, I know we have some lawyers and politicians and stuff, but what we teach in the program is more advocacy than anything else. How to advocate for yourself, for what you believe in your writing and on your feet. And that translates to every single profession. And I agree 100% with what Naja said about tasting different things and seeing what you like, and Didi said as well. I get one of our graduates who's now a dean in a university. He was going to be a lawyer from day one. He's going to be, and Nicole, you know who I'm talking about. And he wanted to be a lawyer, he wanted to be a lawyer, he wanted to be a lawyer, but he started working in student life and he loved it, absolutely loved it. And I remember he came to me, goes, I said I want to be a lawyer, but I love student life. What do you think? I said, you love student life, then do it. So he got his master's from UConn. He is now working his dream job in student life. So you don't have to go to law school, you don't have to go to politics, you don't have to go to crime and justice. It's just learning how to advocate for yourself and how to be a leader. And no matter what you do, no matter where it is, look at Mona. Mona is in social work because that deals with policy and dealing with people and so forth. So it's broader than just law or crime and justice. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that so I was actually in the Drexel 3+3 program and took the LSAT twice. The second time I got a score good enough to get into the Klein program, but then I think 3 or 4 months before graduating, I decided I didn't want to go to law school. So I was like, the clock was ticking. I applied to 2 or 3 grad schools and I just made that full shift. So I think one of the pieces of advice I'd want to give is speak to your professor, speak to Professor Lane. I think that was one of the greatest assets about being in the Law and Society program is I could go to Professor Lane and let him know this is where my head's at. I don't feel confident about going to law school. I feel like my heart is bringing me this way. What do I do? I know kind of my last semester, he really supported me in my independent study, which allowed me to do research on my home country about the education disparities with minority youth. And I did that, and that was kind of Professor Lane's way of supporting what I wanted to do. So, I mean, I made that last minute shift at the very end. So I think, be vocal, be transparent, whether it's a mental health day or you're not understanding your assignment, like speak to your professors. They are they're there to support you. I know it's kind of this shift from when you're in high school and then you enter college, where in high school, you don't want to go up to your teacher and tell your teacher, I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't understand, but when you're in college, they see you as professionals. So see yourself as a professional, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to speak to them and ask for advice, because that's what they're there for. So, yeah.
I'm not gonna, I'll ask the question because there's some potential law students here and people think of going. Asking me what law school is like is ancient days. That's when we used to write, with a stone, on. So let's talk to some recent grads. What's law school like now?
A full-time job. I would say, so I graduated about 2.5 years ago. And so I really do believe that law school is like a job and that you should treat it like a job. But in a sense, it's not overwhelming. And I'll tell you a little bit about my first semester that allowed me to come to that conclusion. So naturally, I am just kind of, I would say, a little bit of an overachiever. Like I want everything to be perfect, and I'm a very hard worker. So my first semester of law school, I would get in at like 7 a.m. and I wouldn't leave till like 12 a.m. I was in the library. I was studying hard. Like I was in the library day in, day out. I wasn't taking phone calls from family. I needed to get all A's that semester. And that's what it was. I was like super focused, and I did absolutely horrible. I was burnt out. It was kind of like, when I should have taken a break and went out and had fun with my friends and spent time with my family, I didn't, because I was so focused. So spending 12-hour plus days in the library, that wasn't healthy at all. So the next semester, what I did was I tried something a little different. After I reached out to, my professors and talked to some other lawyers who went to law school, and what they told me was, treat it like a job. Go in from 9 to 5, take breaks, but don't burn yourself out. It's really a marathon. So that's why I say treat it as a job, but definitely if you're thinking about going to law school, don't make the mistake I did and burn yourself out studying 24/7. Like, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to spend time with your family. You actually need to do that, because it can be overwhelming. It's very competitive. But luckily, if you do go to Klein, I would say, at least my experience, it wasn't as competitive as some of the stories I've heard from other friends who went to other law schools. Klein is really like very close knit. It was similar to Jefferson, very small school, very close knit. You get to know your professors, you get to know your classmates, and everyone was kind of like helping each other out. So I would say just treat it like a job, but it is hard work. It's not to be taken lightly.
I just want to take Nick. There's Nick. Nick is admitted into George Mason Law School. And I just want to introduce Nick Frankie. This is Didi Barjan. Didi Barjan, this is Nick Frankie. So you get a chance to meet each other, because Nick is very interested in being in DC. So I just wanted to, I'm looking at him, I just wanted to make the introduction, and I'm sure you'll be talking down the road. Does anyone else have anything they would like to ask?
I have a question. For the attorneys in the room, what are the big differences in applying to undergrad and applying to law school?
I'll go first. It's been a while. I graduated law school about 5 years ago now. But my recollection of applying to law school, it was more very strategic for me. And I would advise people to do it that way, because I knew that I wanted to be in a big city, right? Like I'm from Connecticut originally, and I knew I didn't want to be in New York because New York was just too close to home. And I was like, no. I didn't really want to be in LA. So I'm like, all right, well, I can do Chicago. I can stay in Philly. And so I made sure that my applications were in the places that I knew that I wanted to spend the rest of my life, so to say, or the rest of my career, right? And it was an easier transition for me. Not to say that it's impossible. Obviously, you can go to school somewhere, intern somewhere else, you know, and get a job in another city or another state. But I knew that I didn't want to take the bar more than one time. I knew that from a long time ago, especially after my experience with the LSAT. And I knew that for me, being in the city that I'm going to go to law school, it'll help me with my connections, because I knew connections were more important than anything else. And then it would just help me transition into my career path. So that was the difference for me in applying for law schools versus applying for colleges. As far as the applications were concerned, I still had to do, you know, writing samples. It was still much of the same, like how you would do for college. But again, it was just more strategic.
Anything else, folks, who'd like to ask, or just introduce yourselves to the board with anything you may want to ask? Anybody who is potential freshman? I'll ask the question for those who are potential freshmen here. How would you describe the program? Leslie, you last spoke. How would you describe the program?
Well, originally I'm from Indiana, a very tiny place with not a lot of help when you want to study law or anything similar. I think the program gave me an opportunity to go to a school and not be forced into law school, not knowing if that's what I wanted to do. I know when I applied to schools here in Indiana, it was like, go to this school and then you're going to go straight to law school, and you don't really have an opportunity to look for anything else. And that's my favorite part of Jefferson. I've personally internshiped with Caroline. We mentioned her earlier. I internshiped with her twice, and I saw that that's not really what I wanted to do. And I'm about to start another internship with a law office near me, and that's what I'm looking at right now. So it gave me that opportunity.
Jared, how about you? If you want to add a little bit.
Yeah, I think this program for the prospective students, when you get involved in this program, I think you'll find that it's very family-based. Everybody kind of relies on each other, which is really nice. Through our small, tight-knit program and through the university, we have a lot of connections, and everybody's really around to help each other. You'll find that if you really do like this program and you like what we do here, Law and Society, it'll become a part of you. And I'd say that certainly became a part of me. When I applied to college, I applied for 3 different things: pre-law, turf management, don't ask me why, and engineering. And I am certainly no engineer. I hate math, so thank God I didn't do that. I would have been an okay turf manager, but I would not have been happy with where I'm at. And I chose Jefferson Law and Society, and I absolutely love it. You take Professor Lane in the intro class in your first semester, and you truly realize why you're here. So if you like this concept and you like what you're hearing today, I would trust that you would enjoy this major and you would fit well. Everything from in-class time and instruction to internships. I got 2 internships with the Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General, one in the Bureau of Narcotics Investigation and Drug Control, and one in the Bureau of Consumer Protection, and both of them with the help of Professor Lane in the school. So nothing but good things to say.
I guess if the board want to just wrap it up, we're getting closer. I could smell my Italian food being cooked downstairs by my wife. I feel like the fumes are coming in and taking me away. So does anyone have anything else they'd like to add before we?
Yeah, I'll just add one thing about, I don't think I actually hit this part about, what drew me to the school, because I actually didn't come for Law and Society originally. Something that I think we didn't really mention is kind of like the campus life as much. And something that, Leslie kind of mentioned, and Nicole mentioned about, big city, small city, that kind of thing is, the university is, in Philadelphia, but has its own campus, which is kind of unique for a lot of, quote unquote city schools. You have your own campus, but there's a train stop right behind the soccer field that gets you to Center City in 2 or 3 stops. I think Temple's like 3 stops and maybe Center City's 4. and then a major bus route that kind of splits the campus. So very easy to get around the city, which is something that I wanted coming originally from New York, but having lived in Tampa, Florida for high school, I knew I wanted to get to a city, but not necessarily go to New York. So and then I don't know if we answered this question or if I missed it, Professor Lane, but how many people are in the program currently?
60.
60, yeah. So and that's through that's the entirety of it, right?
Right. I never want it to be more than 100. I don't care what John Witherington's going to say, because I never want it to be too big, because then I really feel that it loses what makes it special. Because if I don't know everybody, if I don't have the ability to talk to everyone, and it gets out of hand, then it loses what I think the program does best. So and we've gotten very selective. I can tell you that the students get better every year, which is an amazing thing to say, because they've been getting pretty good. So it will never be big as long as I'm here. And John, I will edit that out of this thing, so you can't use it against me.
What I'll say, I mean, as an admissions guy, we're teasing, but my gosh, after listening on this hour, why would you want to mess with this? I mean, this is for me, and I was saying to a couple of people as we got started before everyone joined, I work in the admissions office. So the tendency for admissions folks is we see you on the way in, right? We read about your high school careers and we get to know you, and then you kick us to the curb and you do some awesome things, along the way. And we see you walk across the stage at graduation, but to hear the guts of what our current students are working on and how far our alums have come, I mean, these are types of stories that I don't always get to hear working on the front end of things, and it's awesome to be part of this and to to really have a handle on how special this program is and how it's helped you all get to where you are or where you're going. So yeah, we have a deal, Evan. We'll preserve whatever keeps this feeling intact.
Thank you. I want to thank the board. Thank you so much, all of you, for the undergrads. This is your first exposure to the board. It will not be your last. Take advantage of them. I will just provide you with their emails, act as a conduit, and then your relationships will be established and you won't need me anymore. So I'm really proud of my board. Thank you so much for taking time. My undergrads, thank you so much for coming and helping out. And for the potential freshmen, I hope to see you and be part of the family. Everyone, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Evan, that's great stuff, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. They're good people. They really
Yeah.
are. They're great people. And